The science fiction author, William Gibson, is famous for coining the term cyberspace back in the 80s. And he says that the future is already here, it's just unevenly distributed. And so my purpose today is to try and terrify you, and I hope at the same stage excite you by presenting some of the future, some of it already present, and some of what might change.
Trust is becoming extremely important and is going to become far more important in my view. And what I mean by that is people are now, you've used these, probably people in the room, social media recommendations, TripAdvisor, Yelp, a whole range of these sort of things, to look up, will I go to this restaurant? Will I buy this product? Will I go to this business? Now, when I present around those review models to retailers, to tourism people, I always get someone pops their hand up and go, yeah, but my competition down the road, they get their brother and his family and their mates to put up a whole lot of bad reviews about me. And that is absolutely true. People are out there gaming that system. But that's going to change because the value of someone being referred to your business because they trust someone is so high compared to a Google search or something like that. People are building systems to try and harness that trust.
That's Alan Weiss, a consultant who has done some training for me. I participated in some of his workshops. And he put a complaint up about a Disney hotel stay on a news site called Gripe. If you look at the top of that website, his complaint has influenced 487,402 people. That is the sort of transparency and connections I'm talking about, amplifying what's happening in the real world. And as I say, all these things are streaming around, reinforcing each other. The fact that trust is becoming more important has been proven to be better than web searches, is driving new applications and developments to actually utilise that trust, which is then reinforcing the value of that trust, and it goes round and round in circles. And wave after wave after wave of change.
And that's always been the case in business. I mean, I'll give an example. There's been a recent report looking at an airline in the US that looked at their data for customer satisfaction. And what they did was they figured that people were more satisfied when planes left on time. That seems to make perfect sense. They actually dug down on the data and found out that their customers were happier when their planes were delayed. And the reason for that is when the plane was delayed, everyone rushed to talk to the people and explain and care for them and give them vouchers, and they felt like they were really being looked after as customers. When the plane was on time, they felt ignored. But they hadn't sort of figured that out they were sort of stuck in this paradigm. But there were people putting that out and actually talking about it in social media, and they hadn't sort of cottoned on to it till they dug down the data. And so the opportunity to actually change their behaviour and actually care for their customers more and then promote that out provides a huge positive reinforcement that might have only been one customer or a few customers previously, they can now communicate to the world. So
that, if you pinned all of those forecasts and the answers to a board and asked a chimpanzee to throw darts at that board, that chimpanzee would be marginally less accurate than humans. And that was 28,000 different forecasts. Now, the other interesting part, and this is where I get in trouble at conferences, is that he found in his research that experts are actually worse than the non-experts, and particularly in their own field. And they were very prone to certain kinds of errors. So they would say, that would absolutely never happen, and then it would. And this is definitely going to happen, and then it didn't. So I'd say I get in trouble at this point with experts. I'm not saying don't listen to experts. I'm saying you need to ask them for a cogent underlying story that tells you the drivers and what's changing things, not some number or this will happen in 5 years' time. Because then you can take that away in your head, and if things change in 6 months or 12 months while you're thinking about your strategy, then you can adjust and change. Whereas if some guru told you this is what's going to happen, when things change, you've got no idea.
But what that means is if more ideas are being tried by all the businesses and organisations you compete with, is there's a lot more change, a lot more new business models, a lot more products that are going to be out there. And it's not just about products that actually compete directly to you. This is attention for money, because I spent money on that, I'm not going to spend somewhere else. It's attention for eyeballs, so iPhones, iPads, all this sort of stuff, content, because you're going to be looking at stuff rather than going to use your services. So you have to think about it wider than just what your customers are and who you think you are competing with. You're competing with a much larger ecosystem. And what it means is that there is someone out there right now making a bullet in their backyard, in their garage, and they're going to shoot it at you. If I was your competitor right now, I'd look like that. I would be absolutely frightened of this organisation because I have seen the passion and the vision and the commitment of the people in your organisation, the people in this room. That provides a fantastic competitive advantage. But you don't want to be like the beachside cafe at Byron Bay where I used to live. Because they have a cafe, it's the only one right on the beach. Anybody been there? Fantastic location. The food is not the best in town because they're full up a lot of the time just because you can sit on the beach and eat stuff. They don't produce great in that process because they're resting on that laurel. If you rest on the fact that you have this mission and fantastic passion and community which gives you a competitive advantage, in the end you'll get blown out of the water. If you can become great in the other parts of your businesses, you'll beat the hell out of anybody else in your competitive space because you have such a head start by your vision, by your passion and by your people.
Paul Higgins, I think you could probably be termed as a benevolent terrorist. You asked if anybody was scared yet, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if there's a number of small business people down there who are absolutely terrified because we're comfortable in the way we do things from time to time, and you've now just opened up our eyes to a huge range of what could be, and I think there's been a lot of people going back and managing their business plans.